Well, hello guys. There was the Christian King hosted what he was calling the Siege. It was going to be as many people that would join, so up to 8 people, versus JP Uncut and the Christian King. And I joined, so this is how it went. Enjoy.
So if you're confident the Trinity cannot be defended from Scripture, step into the arena. Bring your strongest verses. Bring your best arguments. Bring your toughest objections. Because tonight, false doctrines will not survive. The stage is set. The challenge has been issued. Let the siege begin. Welcome in, JP. Welcome in, Pope of Oneness.
Hello, TK. Hello, JP.
How's it going, Steve?
Yeah, it's going well, thank you. It's been quite a long day actually, but
it sucks.
Yeah, it's all right.
So, Steve, would you like to begin the siege on the Trinity, or do you want to wait for some backup?
Oh, I don't need backup.
Oh, is that so?
I'm fine. I can take on the world. So.
Okay, so how about we start with what is your best argument to destroy the Trinity doctrine?
Well, I would like to take one passage from the Old Testament. I want to take one passage of Jesus' own words, the red letters, and I want to take one passage from Paul, and I would like to connect
All right.
them
Well, that's
all.
not one passage. Those are like 5 passages. But
Well, it'd be 3 passages. One passage from the Old Testament,
all right,
one
pull it up,
passage from
CK.
Jesus.
Pull it up.
So my first passage that I would like to use is Isaiah 9:6. And that identifies Jesus as the everlasting Father. The second passage that I would go to would be John 14:9, where Jesus says, "He who has seen me has seen the Father." And my third passage would be Ephesians 4:6, where it says, "There is only one God the Father."
Yeah, very good. So can I respond to that?
Yep.
It's very interesting that the very argument you brought up actually refutes you, because you can be a father, but that doesn't make you the Father. The Father is distinct from everlasting Father. So I would agree that there's only one the Father, and that's distinct from everlasting Father. There are many fathers all over the world. There are many fathers. That doesn't mean that they're the Father, in which is described as the Father of Christ. So Jesus Christ being called everlasting Father, if you can show me a verse where Jesus was called the Father, you'd have an argument.
Well, I would argue that saying that there is only one God the Father, if you believe that Jesus is God and you believe that he is everlasting Father in whatever way you make that interpret that would, but if you're saying he's not God the Father, but he is God and yet also the everlasting Father in a different sense, that would mean 2 fathers.
You know the text where it says there's only one Father? CK, go to that text real quick.
That's Ephesians 4:6.
Okay, go.
Huh?
What 9:6 or I mean I'm using I'm not a one verse theologian. I would never use one verse on its own to destroy the Trinity.
Well, hold on. We're gonna go to that passage real quick.
In this particular verse, we have it here that he's everlasting Father. I know that it's often argued that Father of everlasting and everlasting Father mean a different thing, but
and there is only one God and Father who is over us all and in us and all and living through us all. So that Father there, right, is not referring to Jesus Christ. That's referring to the other person and the triune and the triuneness, if you will, triuneness, but in the Trinity, which is the actual literal Father of Jesus. So
So
Jesus could be called Father somewhere in some sense, but that doesn't dismiss that he has a Father, because Jesus is also called the Son. And so if he's called the Son, regarding what is he a son? So see, we could say that, but just because you're a son, Pope of Oneness, I'm not going to call you Jesus. That would be ridiculous. There are many sons, there are many fathers. But just because the Bible calls Jesus the everlasting Father, that doesn't mean that he's the Father. There's a distinction made.
I think that the title, the everlasting part, though, is like that kind of, it shows the whether it's in like a human relationship, because like I think you're sort of saying that in a human sense there are many fathers on the earth, you know, so there are many fathers, but
Yeah, all
obviously
I'm
we only have
simply
one God
saying,
the Father.
all I'm simply saying is that because somebody is called something that somebody else is called, that doesn't make them that thing automatically. That's a fallacy, right?
Right. So
So what I would say simply is that yes, Jesus is called everlasting Father, but that doesn't mean that he is the Father, and Jesus is also called the Son, right? But I would never call the Father the Son in the same way that I would call Jesus the Son, because there's distinctions amongst all three persons.
so in Ephesians 4:6, you're saying that this one here, this is talking about the Father,
It's talking about the Father, if you will, if we're
and
just to
Jesus
make it,
is the Father,
yeah.
not
And it's
Father.
and it's not talking about the Holy Spirit, and it's not talking about Jesus. In fact, when you read verse 7 makes a distinction between the Father and Christ. There is one Lord, one faith, one baptism. There is one God and Father who is over us all and is all living through us all. However, he has given each one of us a special gift according to the generosity of Christ. So this is talking about one person in verse 4 to 6, Father. And then in verse 4 and in verse 7, it talks about what Jesus is doing, what the generosity of Christ is. So it talks about the distinction because it is Christ that died on the cross, not the Father. So there's distinctions here all over the place. And so I would say that the distinctions here are in personhood because, yes, Jesus Christ is called everlasting Father, but that doesn't mean that he's literally the Father.
Why then does he say to Philip, like, he who has seen me has seen the Father? He doesn't say,
The GOAT,
like,
brother!
he has seen
You
me.
rock, my man!
That's
The
very good.
Anglican layman gave
I'll tell you right now
1.42
why
seconds.
that's the
GBY,
case.
Steve.
Hold on, before we jump to another verse, let me say something on this first verse that you brought up, about everlasting Father. You mentioned, oh well, some Trinitarians will get away by saying, oh, Father of eternity, but you
Yes.
didn't even actually disprove that.
Well, it's
You
the
just
Hebrew.
repeated our claim.
Yeah, it's the way that
Well,
the
hold on,
Hebrews
hold on. For example, you would have to explain why, for example, some Bible translations, like the Amplified, say everlasting Father of eternity. Some other translations, like the Dewey Ream, says the Father of the world to come, and then even the Young's literal translation says Father of eternity.
So I don't think that there's any real difference between Father of eternity and everlasting Father. I think that that's basically just a semantics game.
Well, you just saying I think isn't disproving
Yeah,
anything. You have to
well,
prove that.
in Hebrew, when they say King David, they actually say David King. Rather than saying King David like we do in English. And so in Hebrew, they would say everlasting or Father everlasting, Father eternity. In English, we would say everlasting Father. So when the translators are translating the Hebrew, it depends on whether or not they're actually flipping it to go from sort of Hebrew to English in the same way that we go King David or David King. And obviously in these translations, some have opted to actually flip it and say Father of everlasting Father, and others have left it the way that it actually is structured in the Hebrew by leaving the Father first and then saying everlasting after.
So how does that disprove this being, for example, Father of eternity?
Well, it wouldn't disprove it. It's that there's nothing different between Jesus is still calling Jesus the Father, you know, the creator.
You don't think there's any
all things.
difference in saying, oh, he's the Father, and saying he's the Father of eternity?
Well, what do you think it means to be the Father of eternity then? What's this difference?
You don't think there's
between
any difference?
I don't know. If you would like to explain it, then that might be beneficial for myself
So
and the audience.
one is saying that he's the Father of eternity, or the originator of eternity, and the other one would be calling him Father.
But everlasting Father, which would line up with eternity.
Yeah.
So like he's outside of time.
So you see,
and
but you
he
see the
created.
difference, though, right?
No, they're both talking of an everlasting time, an eternity, an everlasting, and Jesus is the Father.
The
of
difference
this
is
eternity.
a father of what? That's the difference.
Yeah, of eternity. He's
Right. So
the
one
creator.
is saying, go ahead.
Yeah, he's the creator. He created time. He's through in time. He's the everlasting Father. He's the Father of eternity. He created time. Jesus is the creator.
Yes,
He's the Father.
that's what we're saying. This verse is saying. It's not saying that he's the Father.
Well, then you'd have to prove that there's another father somewhere else, because then that would be a grandfather or a second father, and that's why I connected this verse with Ephesians 4:6, which is saying there's only one God the Father, and so if there's only one God the Father, and Jesus, this child is being identified as the everlasting Father, and there is only one Father, one God the Father and Father, then Jesus has to be him. And this would be confirmed in Jesus' own words in the red letters that I included, where Jesus says, he who has seen me has seen the Father. He doesn't say he who has seen me has seen the Son. If he was the Son, he could have said, he who has seen me has seen the Son. But he's the Father. He's the everlasting Father. He's the Father of eternity. And when we see Jesus, we have seen the Father, because God the Father manifest in the flesh and revealed himself as Jesus Christ, the Son of God.
So the Hebrew here, again, before we move on, because I think we're just going to go in circles
let me say
here.
this real quick, CK.
Yeah.
The reason that he said you have seen the Father is because the Father was in him. And likewise, the Son was in the Father. The Father is in me, and I am in the Father. So when he says, if you've seen me, you've seen the Father, the context of that is the works he was doing, what he was doing. Whereas there were people that were denying him as the Messiah, people that were denying his divinity, people that were saying he was an antichrist. He said, no.
So, some people even deny he's the Father.
Yeah, if you've seen me, you've seen the Father. In other words, how the Father was manifest in Christ, because he was literally in Christ.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, so
that doesn't mean that Jesus is the Father.
Yeah. So
right?
There were people that rejected a multitude of things about Jesus, and certainly one of the things that people rejected about Jesus is that he was the incarnation of God the Father. And so he's clarifying it, and he's saying, he who has
Chat.
seen me has seen the
Is there
Father.
no other
And so
Yes,
wants to
but I
Unitarians,
make
a
explained.
Jesus.
Yeah,
modalist,
I explained that
oneness?
context. It doesn't mean that Jesus is
Steve needs some
literally the
backup.
Father, right? It's how the Father was manifested in the Son, and the works of the Father were manifested in the Son. So where they were denying the divinity of Christ, they were denying who he was, they were denying all of these things, and Christ made the Father manifest in him because the Father was in him. So he contrasted by saying, if you've seen me, you've seen the Father.
And
Well,
also, another point, Steve, is, whenever someone is called father, is not necessarily a literal father, which is how you're, interpreting Isaiah 9:6. For example, you see in the Old Testament, father is used to describe somebody who's a protector, a provider, a founder, or a ruler over the people. Some examples like when Joseph became father to Pharaoh in Genesis 45. In other words, he was his chief advisor. He wasn't literally Pharaoh. He wasn't literally his father. Job said, "I was a father to the poor." So, using your logic, oh, look, it says father. Oh, he must be the father. He must be a literal father. Doesn't work, because you're forgetting that father is used too also in a figurative sense. So that verse
well,
does not prove or destroy, or I should say destroy the Trinity, which is what you're here to do.
You're
yeah,
cooked.
Jesus does say, call no man father upon your earth because your father's one. Let me look up the verse. Matthew 23:9, and it reads, and call no man your father upon the earth, for one is your father, which is in
He's
heaven.
gonna explain to you everything like a
So
baby. You're
how
still on the
come,
milk.
why would Jesus be sort of like identifying himself sort of, I mean, I know that JP was saying that it's because of Jesus's works that were being manifest. But if Jesus is the Son, then he should have said that we're seeing the Son and that the works are revealing the Father. When I see somebody's child, I'm not seeing their parents, I'm seeing the child. If I get to know somebody at work, then I know them, I don't know their parents. So although I can understand how they've been raised and things like that by their characteristics and the things that they do, and Jesus, he can show aspects of the divine, the Father, but he is saying that seeing him is seeing the Father, and he's expressing disappointment with Philip as well, because Philip should have known. And so you can, when I'm reading the verse in John 14:9, I'm detecting that Jesus has genuine disappointment. Like, have I been with you for so long and thou hast still not known me, Philip? Like, there's disappointment in that. And then he goes on to explain, he who has seen me has seen the Father. He was disappointed Philip didn't understand this.
I'm sorry, Steve. Can you summarize that into one main point?
Jesus was disappointed with Philip for not recognizing that he was the Father. There's genuine disappointment in that statement. And, well,
Uh,
yeah, I can leave it at that.
which verse? I'll pull that verse. Which verse is it?
Well, that one was John 14:9.
Okay, so
Yeah, sorry, I kind of switched verse on
um,
you there.
yeah, bro, you just
My
been
bad. Yeah.
hopscotching a bunch of verses, man.
Well, I initially said I wanted to use three, and yeah, I have just added this Matthew one in
yeah,
because
yeah,
of the way
bro.
the conversation was going.
Okay, so what verse should we focus on?
Um, Yeah, so why we'll focus on this one, and ye may not call any your father on the
You're
earth,
cooked.
for one is your Father who is in the heavens. So why would Jesus identify saying that, he who has seen me has seen the Father, in light of the fact that you shouldn't call any man on earth your father?
Well, this would actually disprove your position because he's saying one is your Father who is in the heavens,
Right.
referring to the Father. So that means that Jesus is not the Father.
Well,
Well,
we've
let me
already
make a
agreed.
quick, Mr.
We've
Steve. Let me
already
make a
agreed.
quick,
Yeah.
Mr. Steve. Let me make a quick announcement. Thank you for the conversation, by the way. Where are all of the heretical, anti-Trinity? And Mr. Steve, this is not towards you. You're here. You said you could take on the world. I respect you. But for the rest of everybody else, where the heck are all the people that deny Jesus being God? I mean, at least Mr. Steve believed Jesus is God. At least he believes
You're
that
cooked.
much, right? We can
Yeah,
disagree on the
yeah.
Trinity, but at least he believes that. I think God can have grace on Mr. Steve's life. But how about the people that say Jesus isn't God, say that the Trinity's three gods, say all of these things? Where are you guys at? I mean, we posted this on Twitter. CK retweeted it. I know you guys saw it because I reposted it on my YouTube. So where are you guys at? CK is not an intimidating man.
Hit like, leave a
No,
Neither is
comment, and
indeed.
share
JP.
with your
They're,
friends.
they're, they're, they're
Unless you're in
intimidating
league
because
with
they
the
know oneness
heretics.
will win. If they're Unitarian, they're scared of the Pope.
Well,
And
that's
you
what I'm
know,
saying.
the
Where these guys
Trinity
at?
isn't even my specialty. And
That's what neither,
yesterday, oh, go ahead.
bro. Neither is in my specialty. I'm rusty as hell. I haven't done a Trinity debate. I mean, the last time I did a Trinity debate, I had Otis bailing me out. Had brother Otis because I would just haven't debated this topic, and I don't want to say years, but it's been. I mean, God knows how long, CK. I've been doing this intercession of the same thing. I haven't done this.
Can I just point out that they're filibustering? We've only got 45 minutes on this siege left, and they're
My bad,
filibustering.
my bad. I'll pause the time. I'll pause the time.
That was good. That was good, Pope. That was good. That was good. But yeah, but that was good. But that's what I'm
Hey,
saying. Where
I did start the clock late though, Steve. I did start the clock
I
late, so
didn't
that should
notice
make
that.
up
where
for
these
that.
people
All
at,
right.
man? Let's post the restream one more time. Let me put. Oh yeah, I'm not a mod around here because CK told me privately he thinks that I block everybody, so I'm not even a mod.
Also yesterday, right when we were putting this event together yesterday, there was some, oneness and modalists or oneness in the chat, and they said, okay, yeah, I'll let everybody know. I'll let everybody know so they come here and we, we could give CK the truth. You know what I'm saying? We could give JP the truth, and I don't see nobody but Steve.
And you know what you could do? Bring up Gray. Gray typically attracts all the heretics. Maybe if they see Gray up here, they'll all go, "Yo, it's Gray."
We'll use Gray as a bait.
Yeah, Gray,
If
come
if
up here
if
real
you
quick,
if
Gray.
you if you want, we can just turn it into a 1v9.
I
Well,
mean, brother,
let's finish the siege afterwards. We'll do that after the siege.
Mr. Steve,
I'm the
believe
only
people,
one here.
Mr. Steve, I love you, man, but believe me, nobody came over here to hear Mr. Steve for an hour. Believe me. Believe me, Mr. Steve, you're the guy, but come on now, man.
So, how many fathers are there then, JP?
How many fathers?
Yeah,
There's
You
only
are
one.
going
There's
to
only
turn
one
into a
the
sky
Father.
bat.
There's
You're
only
cooked.
one the Father.
there's only
only
one the Father, and Jesus says, "I and my Father are one," and he says,
Yes, one
"He
in
who
what
has."
sense? One in what sense? One in purpose, one in being, one in person. That has to be fleshed out.
I'd say one in soul.
One in what?
One in soul.
So you would say one in person, one in being.
One in person.
Uh,
Well, being
Where
and
would you get that
person,
from?
I think, is different.
Okay, well, look, I think we can find common ground. You say that it's one in person. I say that he's one in being, one in purpose, but definitely not one in personhood because they're distinct from one another. Now, where are the heretics at? As soon as this time goes to zero, you could pause it again, CK. As
They'll
soon
be
as
in the
this
chat,
time
won't
goes
they?
to zero, I'm disappearing out of here. If you couldn't show up during the 43-minute timer, you guys are cowards. Where is this guy, Greg? Where's Greg? Greg, get over here, Greg. We need you as bait, light-skin bait. All right? Go
Oh,
ahead.
they must be waiting until the clock runs down, I think.
Oh, so let's go for another direction. We'll go back to Isaiah 9:6, and I'll take you on another direction from there. Everyone believes that Christ is king, yeah? Christ
Yes,
is king.
yes,
Christ
yes.
is king.
Yeah,
Yep,
of course.
yep. Now, at the
Let
end,
me guess. The Father's called king somewhere, so therefore that means the Son is also the king, and therefore the Son is the Father.
no, it says here that this child is the Prince of Peace, and so considering that Jesus, the Christ, is the Son, therefore he's called the Prince. But yet he's also called the Father of Eternity, is what it says on the screen there. But, you know, everlasting Father, Father of Eternity, whatever. Is the timer stopped, CK? Just noticed the timer went going there.
Oh my bad, I started.
Yeah, so the reason that we say Christ is King is because we're actually recognizing his fatherhood there, that he's the Father of eternity, the everlasting Father. If we truly only believed that Jesus was the Son, and then we'd call him the Prince. We wouldn't recognize him as the King.
Come on, bro. I mean, that's not
You're
true,
cooked.
Pope. That's not true at all. The Son is not Jesus isn't just the Son.
What?
He's also
Nah.
God. He was also human. He was a lot of things, including a king, including a Prince of Peace. He was all of those things.
But he's the Son of the Father, though, is he?
Yes, he is the Son of the
So-
Father. Otherwise, he would not be a son.
Right, so he'd
and,
be the Prince. The Son would be the Prince.
Yeah,
The Father would
Steve,
be the King.
Steve, this it
Yo, I
doesn't
have a
disprove
question to
the
ask.
Trinity still.
Otis, I
Yeah,
have
go
a
ahead.
question to ask you privately. But go ahead, carry on.
You know, this I don't see these arguments that you're making. I don't see how this disproves the Trinity, because Jesus in the Bible is both king and prince. You see in Acts 5:31, it says, "Him has God
That's why
exalted with his right hand to be a prince and a savior." Acts 3:15, "And unalive the Prince of Life, whom God has raised from the dead." And obviously, you know, we know Jesus is called King. So how exactly is that supposed to disprove the Trinity?
You're cooked.
Because it proves if the King became the Prince, then it means that the Father became the Son. So if Jesus is both King and Prince, then the
Where
Father is the Son.
where is the king becoming the prince?
You recognised that we can go to Hebrews 7:3 for that if you want an actual verse to say that. Yeah, that's Hebrews 7:3. So just whilst you got that on the screen, remember the title Prince of Peace that we just read. Because in Hebrews 7:2, you can see the last word there is King of Peace. Right, this is about Melchizedek. Right, he's the King of Peace.
Bro, Brother Pope, I think you're on our side, brother. I mean, you're making arguments that I
bro.
was...
What? Nah.
This making arguments. This man's making arguments showing distinctions between the Father and the Son.
Exactly, bro.
Pope, I'm sorry, bro. You my guy. But come on, Pope.
But I think you're misunderstanding, JP. Because what I'm showing you is that in Hebrews 9:6, it says everlasting Father and Prince. Now in this verse, in Hebrews 7:2, we've got the King, who would be the Father, and in verse 3, towards the end, it says, and being made like to the Son of God, doth remain a priest continually. So here we've got the King that is made like the Son, made like the Prince. And in Isaiah, we had the everlasting Father being
Wait,
called
so
Prince.
the son can't be king?
Not till the Father unalives.
What?
The prince would become king when the father unalives.
So you saying the father has to unalive?
Well, the father would have to vacate the throne to the prince.
What?
Why would he do that? They're the same God.
Well, yeah, exactly. He wouldn't. He is his throne.
There we
He
go.
sits on the
Trinity.
throne.
So how does he
DK,
that's not
become?
Trinity, that's
DK,
oneness.
So
this is
how
Trinity.
does he become king, bro? So how does he become king?
He's always been king. He became prince. He's
The
always
GOAT,
been.
brother. You rock, my man.
And Dan 22 gave 3.54 shekels. So God was the King of peace in heaven and the O.T. made himself as a Prince of Peace in heaven and in T. So God downgraded himself? Make it make sense.
Mr. Steve,
And then the son gives it back to the father.
Mr. Steve, you win. I'm a mute
win.
up. You win. I'm a mute up until
Did you hear that, guys? Let's hear that again. To
Mr.
the
Steve.
son. And then
Mr.
the
Steve.
son gives
Mr.
it back
Steve,
to the
Mr.
father.
Mr. Steve. You win.
You win.
I'm a mute
win.
up. You win. I'm a mute up until somebody.
There we go, guys. I win. Won the debate. But as I kept on listening, though, JP was still arguing for the Trinity. So I don't quite know what he meant by that, in that I win. But hopefully he goes away and thinks about it. But anyway, that was our debate, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Like and subscribe. God bless you all, and I'll see you on the next one.